How is Christ revealed in the Old Testament?
God did us something good, human experience the benefit of it, and slowly they forget it, go astray. And then they suffer. And when they suffer, they pray to God. Adam's fall itself is not a single act. God said, you will be blessed, and through you, every
Nation
will be blessed.
So, Tirumeni, can I ask the next question? How is Christ revealed in the Old Testament?
See, as I said earlier, God has been continuously working. Human lack of readiness to participate with the liberative work of God had to be addressed by God. Every moment, God was working to lead human to perfection. But every time God did that, that's evident in the history. Every time God did that, human turned back. Probably that is, in nutshell, the history of panic. God did us something good, human experience the benefit of it, and slowly they forget it, go astray. And then they suffer. And when they suffer, they pray to God. God intervenes, bring them back, and they enjoy the fruit of God's mercy.
Right.
But slowly, again they forget. So on the one hand, it is a cyclic event, and on the other hand, at the same time, there is projections of disobedience. Or I don't like that word, obedience, lack of participation. And then God decided, yes, I have been sending people to help human to make human come back. But every time God did that, still people went away. So he himself wanted to come. And that is what Jesus is. So that is the paramount act of God where he has been always trying to liberate human. But God did know that if he comes as he is, nobody is going to understand. On the one hand, he has to be he, but at the same time, he has to be one with human. That is why in the Garden of Gethsemane, there had to be somebody to pinpoint Jesus. He was not different in any way from his disciples. A perfect human, lived like a human being, was born, was raised, and his life continuously becomes a mark of the growth, suffering, and death of human being. So, Christ or Jesus is the paramount or climax of God's saving work, which was done by God indirectly through events and peoples in the old time.
So, if we adopt this perspective on salvation, can we say that incarnation was not contingent upon human fall? But incarnation was something which was very much part of God's salvific design.
Yeah, incarnation has been always happening. When God appeared to the burning bush, that was an incarnation, not in human form, rather in the bush body.
So it was a kind of theophanic
Yes.
manifestation. Yeah. But the incarnation of God, the incarnation of our Lord Jesus Christ, can we say that that was merely contingent upon Adam's fall? Or was it originally part of God's design?
Well, it's not just one, rather, it was required for what happened in history.
Right.
All along.
Right.
Of course, Adam's fall itself is not a single act. There are few things.
Mm-hmm.
One is husband and wife were not together. And on the top of that, God was not there.
Mm-hmm.
Then God gave the serpent under human's control because it was human that named the serpent. And human was not supposed to take advice from the serpent. Then, becoming God is not through simply eating the fruit of a tree. They were created like God, after the image and likeness of God, and also had the breath of God in the nostril. So they were gods. Just like we see after the baptism of child, the priest would pray and say, God, Father, this is the child, your only begotten son, sister, or brother.
Right.
So human was created like God. They didn't have to eat the fruit. So a wrong suggestion from a subordinate was taken seriously and acted on. In that act itself, there are plurality of actions, which is a statement of history. Human has been doing one or the other thing all along. So when we even say God's and Adam's sin, still it's not just one instance, one incident.
Right. So drawing upon Irenaeus and the later fathers, if I say that incarnation happened also because God had a desire to bridge the ontological gap between divinity and humanity, do you agree with that?
Well, God always wanted a human to be like God. But that was always disturbed by human act, which was to be corrected. The philosophical words that are used may sort of confuse people. So I will use only simple terms. Now, of course, what they said is not wrong, but at the same time, for a simple mind, to use simple terms would be easier.
So there is this gap between the creator and the created. So some of the fathers argue that God had a very deep desire to participate in the created because there is already a gap. So incarnation, that is taking the body, human body, is also fulfilling that desire to participate in humanity. So that is a perspective that some of the fathers have taken. So I just wanted to...
Yes and no. God always wanted the fellowship, perfect fellowship.
Communion.
But at the same time, these are two entities, which creator cannot become the created. When it becomes the created, it becomes non-creator.
Right.
And the created cannot become the creator.
Right.
Because the very effect of creation is the result.
Right.
And therefore, this has to be two. But at the same time, the gap is filled by participation.
Right.
And that is why human was able to name what God created. They understood what God had in mind when he created. So it's not God, a human became God, rather human became a participant with the creative work of God. And same as in the case of salvation.
Thank you, Dirman. My last question. How do we understand the relationship between Israel as a chosen people in the Old Testament and the church as the fulfillment of the covenant between God and his people?
Well, the present Israel claims that they are chosen people. If we read the passages referring to the choosing, we would very well say that God chose the whole created human race. But what God did was take a representative, and through that representative, the whole will be redeemed. Abraham was not chosen for his merit, but he was chosen with a mission,
Right.
rather than with rights. God said, "You will be blessed, and through you, every
Nation
will be blessed." So the choosing, strictly speaking, was not Abraham's, rather the whole created human race.
Right.
And therefore, the claim of anyone, for that matter, which would say, "We are chosen." Yes, you are chosen as part of the whole human race.
So, in other words, it is again a matter of continuity.
Yeah. Israel claims the chosen for their not so good superiority complex. That's not the fact. God cannot discern between one race against another.
Because he is the creator.
Because he is the creator, everyone.
In other words, Israel was given a mandate or a responsibility to become a blessing to all the nations. Thank you, Dirmini. Thank you for enlightening us with your words. We extend our gratitude to you for sparing your time and answering our questions related to the Old Testament.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Achin, for giving my thoughts on God's work in this created world.
Thank you.